Hi everyone. Now that you've finished your furniture plans, you're going to be thinking about your lighting plan. And on the furniture plan, you may have had some table lamps. It could be a reading lamp that gets plugged in, and those are shown on the furniture plan because they get plugged in. But if something is hardwired, it is now going to be shown on the lighting plan. And lighting is a very complex subject, and it's so complex that we have a 15-week course that's required of you in the interior design program. So we touch on a lot of things in drafting so that you can complete a lighting plan, but we do have a course that gets into so much more detail of lighting. So I'm giving an overview, but it will be enough for you to be able to create a lighting plan. And this is an example of a lighting plan. It has the, or reflected ceiling plan. It has the fixtures that are hardwired. It also shows outlets and switching, phone, smoke detectors, and cable. On this particular plan, there are schedules, and you would normally have schedules on your plan, but for our purposes, remember what I said about our schedules, it's okay that you create them in a Word or Excel document. That'll be fine, and your plan will just have the lighting plan on it. So to begin, we have to think about, what is important with lighting. We have to think about what are our goals, okay? And your goals with lighting are, number one, you have to generate good visibility, right? The other thing that you want to think about is the atmosphere. So you want to generate a particular atmosphere, and you have to think about the space. Do you want it to be a formal atmosphere? Do you want it to be casual? Do you want it to be calm and restful? Does it need to be exciting? You're thinking about all different ways that the room can feel, and you want to think about that. So again, you're always referencing your client profile because your client is the most important thing. So you're going to take a look at your client profile, identify the needs, and then design accordingly. So you do think about that. You have to be able to see, so you have to think about the function of the room and what you need to do in that particular space so that you have good visibility. And then again, that atmosphere. In order to do that, you have to have careful planning. You're going to do an analysis of needs of your client. You're going to select light fixtures. And when you're selecting your light fixtures, I did put a list of manufacturers in the PowerPoint that you're going to be watching, which includes Cooper and Tech Lighting and WAC Lighting, Halo, Lightolier, a lot of different companies where you can get specifications on light fixtures. You're also going to be thinking about spacing and location. With spacing and location, when we get into the 15-week course, we go into a bit more of that. But what you are thinking about is what the company will give recommended spacing locations for fixtures. And you typically, let's say to give you an idea of just a general rule, if you had a 9-foot ceiling, there's a 1/3 rule of 3 feet to go away from the wall to put a recessed light, and they can be spaced between 3 and 5 feet apart. So that's something that is just a little bit of a general rule. In terms of layers of light, when you go to create your lighting plan, you want to think about what is your general or ambient light, and you can think of your general light as your overall light, okay? Task is a specific function. So if you have to read, there's going to be a task light. If you were drafting, you need a task lamp. In the kitchen, when you're prepping food, those are tasks. If you're in the bathroom and you're putting on makeup or shaving, that's a task. If you're getting dressed, that's a task. If you were in an office and you were doing any kind of writing, that's a task. So you need to identify what is your task lighting. Now, as I said, we're creating a lighting plan of things that are hardwired, but you're also including the outlets. So on the lighting plan, you wouldn't put a particular table lamp or drafting lamp that gets plugged in on the lighting plan, but you would show that on the furniture plan, and then on the lighting plan, you would identify the outlet that you would need. And then accent. Accent can be an uplight, something that's on the floor that may be shining on a plant to give an accent. An accent light could be on a picture. If you want to highlight a picture, that would be an accent. Sconces fall under accent in a dining room if you want to have some type of kind of brightness. It gives a little bit more of a focal glow in a particular room. In a kitchen, an accent could be lights that are in a cabinet. It could be lighting that is in a soffit. That could be accent. But these are 3 types of lighting that you want to make sure that you are identifying in your plan. In terms of light distribution, when you're selecting your light fixtures, you have to think about, the distribution of light, and that is when the light is turned on, where's the light going? Okay, is it coming directly down? A recessed fixture, it will definitely give you direct lighting. Lighting is coming straight down. Indirect lighting is going up. So it would be hitting a ceiling, and if the ceiling were white, it would be reflected off the ceiling and then coming down into the space. Some differences between direct and indirect. Direct, you have to be careful because it could be glaring if it were too bright. The nice thing about indirect is if it's reflected off a ceiling and coming back down onto us, it's not a direct light source, so it's not as glaring. Semi-direct and semi-indirect, there's some light going down, some light going up. Same thing here. With semi-direct, we have more going down, a little bit going up, and here the opposite. And then the last is diffused, where you have light going in all directions. A globe-type pendant can give you light in all directions, and that would be diffused. So you want to think about light distribution because that helps you to identify where is the light going to hit in the space so that you know where the light is going. And you will know if it's the effect that you're trying to create. In terms of types of fixtures, we have recessed, surface mount, suspended, track, structural, and furniture integrated. These are all different types of fixtures. Recessed means that it's being installed in the recess of a ceiling, in the plenum of a ceiling. It could also be recessed into a wall or recessed into a floor. But the actual housing is in the floor, in the wall, or in the ceiling. With surface mount, a fixture is wired to a junction box that is in a wall, a ceiling, or a floor. And in terms of surface mount, the actual fixture itself will be on the wall or on the ceiling. So a sconce could be a surface mount that is mounted to the wall. A surface mount fixture on the ceiling can be a general type fixture, but it's not recessed. It is wired to a junction box at the ceiling. Suspended can be a number of different fixtures. You can have a pendant, you can have a chandelier, you can have a suspended pole, you can have a chain, anything that is hanging from a wire, chain, pole, something like that, that will come down from the ceiling before you have the actual fixture. Track is lighting that is attached to a particular track. They do have suspended tracks, but a typical track is mounted on the ceiling. What's nice about track is that it's very flexible. The only thing you have to be careful of, track is pointing in a particular direction, so you have to make sure that it's not glaring. But it really is good in spaces where the objects that you're lighting change often. So if you think of a store, you think of a museum where the works of art may change or the merchandise may change, track comes in handy because you can manipulate track. If you have a fixture and it's hardwired in one location, you can't move it, but track you can move. Structural becomes part of the architecture, and what's nice about structural is the light fixture itself is typically hidden, and it could be a cove type lighting, it could be a soffit type lighting, but the light is built into the actual architecture of the space. And then furniture integrated is lighting that is within furniture. So if you think of a curio cabinet, or it could be an étagère that has light already in it, there's typically a switch in the piece of furniture. But also, in this particular case, it can either be hardwired if it's built in, or it could be something that gets plugged in, okay? But you need to understand the furniture integrated to know whether or not it's going to be hardwired or whether you need an outlet to plug it in. Those are our different types of fixtures. And just so that you know, with everything that I'm talking about, I want to make sure you watch the PowerPoint that is on Canvas, which will give you visuals to everything that I spoke about. So you'll have a little bit better understanding of it. But just make sure you watch the PowerPoint. And also in our textbook, Chapter 10 is on utility systems, and lighting plans are in that chapter. So make sure you read that as well. That will just add to everything that I'm saying. Some things that I'd like to go over now are a little bit about reflection and some vocabulary that you'll need to have a little bit of understanding for. So we talked about the different types of fixtures and light distribution. Well, with lighting, you have to think about reflection because light is going to hit surfaces and reflect off of them. One thing that you need to understand, white reflects. If you have white or very light colored walls, they will reflect light. If you have black or very dark colors, they absorb light. So in actuality, if you have a very, very light room, you may not need as much light as if the room were dark. If you have dark walls, you may need more light. Some things that we also get into in our course is the age of someone. That's going to affect how much light that they need in a space. And then also if there are any disabilities that someone may have that affects their eyes, that will determine how much light you need in a space. The other thing about reflection that you have to take into consideration is excessive reflection can cause glare. And so you have to be careful of the fixtures that you're selecting and where they're being directed towards. Some vocabulary and a little bit about electricity I'd like to go over before we touch on our plan. Power distribution is something that you need to understand a little bit so that you're able to do a lighting plan. Where do we get our power from? Well, it originates in a power plant, and it can be wind powered, it can be geothermal, it can be solar, and it can be nuclear powered. But that electricity comes into our home through a meter and a distribution panel. I want you to take a look at figure 10.3 in the book because that will give you a very good visual of a distribution panel. The distribution panel is typically located maybe in a garage. If you don't have a basement, it may be in a basement if you have a basement, but it is where the electricity begins to come into the home, and the electricity is routed throughout the house from the distribution panel. A volt is a unit of electrical pressure. And to help you understand volt a little bit, when we're getting that power into our house, you may have seen very large high tension wires, these big wired or metal structures that bring that electricity to the home from the power plants. And they are really, really high voltage because you need that pressure to move that electricity to get to our homes. Watt is a unit of electrical power. That's the amount of energy that is needed to power a light fixture. Current is the flow of electricity through a wire. From the distribution panel, we're going to have some circuits that we're going to run, and the flow of electricity through the wires from the distribution panel through our circuit is a current. In the industry, a lamp is the actual light bulb. You may refer to a light bulb as a light bulb that goes into a lamp, but in the industry we call light bulbs lamps. So I don't want you to be confused if I say lamp, I mean light bulb. The junction box, that's a container for an electrical connection inside a wall or a ceiling. Your switch, okay, that's the electrical device that opens or closes a circuit. And then the circuit are the wires through which the current, okay, which is an electrical flow, travels. Ground fault circuit interrupter, okay, that is a particular type of outlet that is used at kitchen counters, islands, and bathrooms, and that disconnects the circuit faster, okay, so that if water were to get in the outlet, it trips it so that it disconnects it so you don't get electrocuted. A receptacle is an actual outlet. That's a connection device that allows electricity to be siphoned off for appliances or lights or lamps. This is a little bit of vocabulary just to give you a little bit of background on electricity. Now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to light the house. And based on the size of our house, okay, there's 3 types of branch circuits, okay. You have lighting, okay, your lighting circuit will give you your hardwired or permanent light fixtures and outlets. You have special or small appliance circuits. Those are for your kitchen or workbenches. And then you have individual appliance circuits, and that's for your big ticket items that draw a lot of power, your ranges, your washer, your dryer, your refrigerator, your hot water heater, your furnace. Those all have individual appliance circuits. And something to help you understand this a little bit better is when microwaves first came out, they were on the counter a lot. You just took this appliance, put it on the counter, and if you plugged it into a regular outlet and it didn't have its own individual appliance, some things you may notice is when the microwave on, something else dimmed, okay, because it's taking power from a circuit that where it really needs its own individual circuit because it's drawing so much power. So now you'll see a lot of microwaves that are above a stove or an oven, and they really should have their own individual circuit, so because it draws so much power. In terms of outlets, you're going to have to identify outlets throughout the house, and there are a few rules that you want to understand with your outlets. And one of the rules is in living spaces, they have a 612 rule. So the 612 rule is that you have to place an outlet within 6 feet from a wall or a break in a wall. And the 12 feet is that you cannot go more than 12 feet apart. That's the maximum that you can go from outlet to outlet. So you can be less than 6 feet from the wall, but the maximum you can go is 6 feet from the wall, can be less, and then between two outlets, the maximum you can go is 12. You can go less, but you can't go more than 12. In a kitchen, around a counter, that rule changes. It's now a 2-4 rule, which means from a wall or a break, you have to be 2 feet, and then the maximum you can be apart are 4. And that is around the counter. If you just have a regular wall, you're back to the 6-12, but the 2-4 rule is at the counters. Islands, if you have an island, it must have an outlet, and if it's a 12 by 24, which is pretty small, it still has to have an outlet, and that outlet has to have a GFCI switch. So it has to have a ground fault circuit interrupter. And always think about, why do you need that? The reason being is if you were to use an appliance at an island or at a peninsula, you don't want to need an extension cord to plug something into a wall. So having an outlet at the island, at the peninsula, will make it so that you can plug it in right there and it's not creating a dangerous situation. And then in a kitchen, the outlets around the counters and at the islands need to be GFCIs because you're typically near water and working with water. So you want to make sure that it's safe. For your electrical plan, okay, you want to make a list of what you have to do. So things that you have to put in there is you have to have your fixtures, okay? And you'll notice that we have these schedules, okay? There are 2 on a lighting plan. You have to have your lighting legend and your electrical legend. And on the lighting legend, we need a symbol, okay, that identifies a fixture. You need your manufacturer. You need the product or fixture number. You need the description that describes what type of fixture it is. The lamp, okay, whether it's an incandescent, an LED, a fluorescent, the quantity, any notes you may have. In the electrical legend, we just need the symbol and the description. And what typically is going here are your symbols, your switches, your outlets, your cable, your phone, things of that nature. So we have to identify fixtures, okay, and they are identified by a symbol, okay. We need to have switches. They are identified by an S. So you're going to locate where you're going to put the switches. And when you're putting your switches, you want to think about, as you enter the room, what is the most comfortable location for the switch. And typically you have to remember when you enter a room, it's dark, right? So you want to have easy access to the switch. So when you open the door, you want to have that light switch as soon as you step into the room. You don't want to have to walk 5 or 6 feet to turn a light on, because then you're walking in the dark and that's not safe. So you want to think about the most comfortable location. You also have to think about that the switch actually takes up space in a wall. If we took the sheetrock off our wall, we would see a junction box in the wall that is attached to a stud. So even though we're just putting an S on this plan, you have to think about that there's something actually going into the wall. So you have to have enough space to allow for that. So please keep that in mind as you're putting an S somewhere. And if there's only 3 inches of space, it's a little tough to get a switch in that location. You have to identify all your outlets and make sure you're following your 612 and your 2-4 rule for the 612s for the living spaces, and the 2-4 is for the kitchen. You're going to show wiring, and the wiring goes from the switch to the fixture. So from that switch, you'll have a dotted line that is created using a circle template, because it is a curve. It is not a straight line, it is a curve. And you can use the circle template to show the wiring. You're also showing smoke detectors, smoke detectors have to be in locations that are like bedrooms, okay? And you also need to have something that is probably near the garage, but not in the kitchen. You don't put a smoke detector in a kitchen because you're cooking there, it'll be going off all the time. But you have to think about, why do we have smoke detectors, okay? Smoke detectors are to save lives. And so what you want to do is you have to have one that is within 10 feet of a bedroom. That's on the outside of the bedrooms. You must have a smoke detector within 10 feet. I also put one in every one of the bedrooms, because if you have the door closed and you're a very sound sleeper, you want to make sure you have extra precaution. So you want to make sure that you get a smoke detector within the bedrooms, within 10 feet of the bedroom. The other thing that you have to be careful of, where you locate the smoke detector, it has to be more than 4 inches from the wall. You cannot go 4 inches or less near the wall. There's a particular gap in there, so because of the way smoke and fire operates, you want to get that smoke detector so it's more than 4 inches from the wall. The other smoke detector, think about a garage. A garage has a car. It may have some combustible materials in it. So if something were to happen in the garage, you want to have something that is near there so that the smoke detector will go off and alert us as quickly as possible. So having a smoke detector that is near the garage is important as well. For this particular size house, we're fine, but depending on the square footage and the levels of the home, you have to have more smoke detectors. And you're always thinking about safety with smoke detectors. And today, the smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors are together, and they should be hardwired. And sometimes they have battery backups as well. They'll be hardwired plus have a battery. You may think, why do I need a phone in a home? It depends on if you have a security system. A lot of security systems require that you have a landline, so you would need to identify where you have a phone in your home should you have a security system. If you don't have a security system, it doesn't require that you have a landline anymore. But you also have to think about that sometimes in some areas there isn't good reception. And if you don't have good reception, at least having that landline gives you a backup. And then cable, we need to identify where are the TVs and computers within the house. Where do you need cable? So you want to be able to identify that as well. I'd like to go over a plan with you, just showing the requirements of your lighting plan. Here we just have a space with a window, a door, and an archway. We could think of this as a dining room. And remember, I'm thinking about good visibility and creating a particular atmosphere. I'm also thinking about our 3 layers of light. And so what I did here was I tried to identify a variety of type of lighting in this particular space. In the center of the room, I wanted to put a pendant type fixture, whether it's a chandelier or just a pendant fixture. That's my choice, but I wanted to have something that will create a focal point in the room and will also be able to give some task lighting for eating. I've also placed recessed lighting. The recessed lighting will give me general or ambient type lighting. Okay. Now I also have put the recessed on a dimmer. I also put my pendant on a dimmer. And then my third type of light that I put in were my sconces, which will give me my accent. And they are on either side of a buffet table. And if you notice, I have everything on its own switch. Putting light fixtures on their own switch will give you flexibility. So if I just wanted to have the chandelier on by itself, I can do that. If I just wanted the recessed, or if I just wanted the sconces, it gives you more control. The other thing that I did for the recessed was I wanted to be able to turn them on and off from 2 different locations. That's a 3-way switch, and it's identified by an SD3, which will in 2 locations. So I have the wiring, okay, the green is the wiring, going from one switch to the fixtures and then to my other switch. My chandelier just has one switch, it's on a dimmer, so I have an SD. My sconces, the 2 of them are on the same, so I'm connecting the wiring and then going to the switch, an SD. So because they're on a dimmer. Now, one thing I tried to do, and this may take a few tries because it's the first time that you're doing it, is you want to make sure that your wiring is as clear as possible. And the more complicated a plan gets, the harder it is to make that very clear. But you want to try to make it easy to read. You have to remember you're creating a plan that an electrician is going to read, and you don't want to have to stand there and hold his hand for him to do things. You want to make sure that he can understand it, so you want to create a very clear plan. Now here I've color-coded things. The fixtures and the switches and the outlets were red and the wiring is green. Everything you do, you're going to do in pencil. One thing you'll notice, I used a leader line. This is called a leader line, and you can do that anywhere where you need to give some direction. And so I wanted to explain that the sconces were to be 6 feet 0 inches above finished floor, so that the electrician will know where to place them. So you can use a leader line anywhere. There's no rule as to how many you can have. It's strictly to make things clearer for an electrician. I just also want to go over the 6-12 rule with you because you want to make sure that you understand that. So remember, it's a 6-12 rule. So what that means is that from every break, so here's a break, I have to be maximum 6 feet from this wall with an outlet. Same thing here. From this break, I have to be 6 feet. Okay? If it's 12 feet, if I go 6 feet and 6 feet, I can have an outlet and I'm okay. So I can have one outlet. If I decided to put the outlet over here, let's say I decided I was going to put my outlet here, then I would have to have another one because I'm less than 6 feet here, but I'm more than 6 feet here. You can't be more than 6 feet, so I would still have to have one at 6 feet or less on this side because there's a break. Okay? We also will have an outlet right here because you have to have one from a corner to a break. Here, so long as I'm less than 6 feet, I'm good. Over here, from the corner, have to be within 6 feet. And here I'm okay because you have to be 12 feet or less. You can't be more than 12 feet apart when you have 2 outlets. Same thing over here. I'm less than 6 feet, so I'm okay. And then here, so long as the maximum I can be is 12 feet. If I were 12 feet apart, I'm okay. I go 13 feet, that's not acceptable. I'd have to add an outlet. Okay? So I'm following the 6-12 rule for our outlets. And this is an example of a lighting plan. In specifying your luminaires, you want to think about the quality of the product. There's different data that the company will give you in terms of spacing criteria. lamp characteristics, meaning whether it's an incandescent or an LED. When you're looking at a light fixture, you want to make sure you know what you're looking at. So you're looking at the details of it. You're thinking about how do you install it. An electrician installs these fixtures, but you want to think about the considerations of that. If you're installing a recessed versus something that is surface mount, there's a difference in installation method. When you cut a hole in the ceiling for a recess, there's a chance if someone cuts the hole too large, now you have to bring in a sheetrock person to fix something that may have overcut. So that may be more additional cost. Operational considerations, you want to think about how are we going to be turning these lights on? Do you want them to be motion detected, or do you want to have a switch? So those are some things that you're going to think about. Maintenance. In residential, it's not so critical as it is in commercial design, but even so, some things that you'll notice, even just in your own home. How often do you go around cleaning your light bulbs? Probably not very often, but if you did, you'd notice that there's probably dust on them, and that cleaning them really helps with keeping the level of light coming off the fixture itself. So making sure that your fixtures are clean guarantees that you're going to have the same amount of light coming out of the fixture. And of course, design considerations is going to be something that you think about when you're specifying. When you did your client profile, you have a particular style that you're working with, so you want to think about that as you're looking at these different companies. And I think we've hit everything for our lighting plan. Just remember, the main things with our lighting plan is you're trying to create good visibility, and you're also creating a particular atmosphere.
Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to draw an electrical plan on your floor plan. So we're going to first start with our goals. Generate good visibility. So I created a list for myself, so I don't forget whatever I have to do on this electrical plan. So first of all, you have to think about the goals for your client. What are you trying to create? What kind of atmosphere? And generate good visibility. So it's if the needs of your client is reading, you need a good visibility. And then if it's more casual, what kind of atmosphere are you trying to create? If it's informal, casual, cozy, comfortable. So in my case, I'm going to try to create a casual atmosphere with my lighting. And then you move on to the next step. It is planning, analysis of needs, function. What are they going to do there? If they're going to read, or if there's a gathering, or if they're going to play here. So in my case, it's most of the reading, and then gatherings, conversations. So it's more casual atmosphere. And then selection of light fixtures. So you need to find your lighting fixtures according to the style you're trying to create. And then the spacing and location to achieve lighting levels and effects desired. Also, we're gonna think we have to have 3 types of lighting. I have general, task, and accent. And also the requirements that you have to have on your electrical plan are luminaires, it is fixtures, and then you have to have outlets, switching, wiring, and wiring you show with a dotted line. I'm gonna show to you later. And then you need to add the smoke detectors wherever you need it, and then phone and data cable. And also don't forget about the codes, the outlets, 612 rule, and in the kitchen, you have to think about that also. So now I'm gonna show you how I draw an electrical plan. So I'm gonna show you on our living room. And I did put the vellum over my furniture plan so I can see where all my furniture is. So in our living room, we have a sofa here, a cocktail table in the middle, 2 chairs, a bench at the window, And then on both sides of the sofa, I have 2 floor lamps. And also I have a bookcase and an area rug. So what do I need to consider? I'm gonna put the recessed lighting. The recessed lighting, you have to think about the height of your ceiling. So if it's, in my case, it's 9 feet, so I'm gonna take a third of that. So it's gonna be 3 feet from the wall. And I'm gonna place it around the cocktail table. So I'm kind of gonna sketch it out. Space it out. So you actually have to, like for the commercials, or if you want to know exactly, you have to check for the spacing criteria. And look of different types of light. It depends of what kind of light and what kind of space do you have, and how big is your lighting. You have to consider all of those details. And also you have to think about the elements and principles of design. It is a visual thing, so you have to, as an interior designer, you have to think about everything at all, like how it looks, how the person is gonna feel in the space. So I'm gonna place it here, right here. I'm gonna have over the area rug, I'm gonna have 4 recessed lights, and in the center I'm gonna place a fan, ceiling fan. So I'm kind of placing it here, and I'm gonna try it with the tracing paper. The best idea is always try it out with the tracing paper. Just trace over your walls, the overall space. It doesn't have to be perfect, just for you to know where your walls are. Here's the window with mullions. Just very quickly. Nothing too crazy here. And then I have my door here. So just an overall, so you know where your walls are, and you still can see through where your furniture is. So over here I have a closet, and here I have the walls, and I still can see my furniture. So I'm placing the ceiling fan in the center of the room, and I'm just gonna sketch it here, and then when I know exactly where I'm placing it, that's where I'm gonna put it on my original floor plan, I mean a lecture plan. And then I'm gonna have 4 recessed lights, and I'm spacing them out evenly, so it's more balanced interior space. It's not like here, here, you know, like chaotic. I have a balance and symmetry. And also I'm having a bookcase here, so I'm gonna add a furniture integrated lighting here. And I have 2 floor lamps here, and then I'm gonna, over this table at the hallway, I'm gonna add a wall sconce that's gonna highlight the artwork that I have over the table. So I'm gonna just draw it up here. And before you do everything, placing all of those lighting fixtures, you have to make sure that you printed out, you found all your lighting fixtures. So I did print out all of my lighting fixtures that go in that living room, and this is gonna be the wall sconce that goes over that table, and it is gonna highlight the artwork over the table. And here's the floor lamp that I have on both sides of the sofa. And then I have a pendant. The pendant is going right here at the entrance. So this is gonna be a pendant. I'm just gonna draw a circle and then put the letter P, that means pendant. And then the recessed lighting, I have it here with all the specs that you need. and I'm gonna have 4 recessed lights here, and then I'm gonna add 2 more recessed lights here. And then I have a ceiling fan that I already added here. So this is, you need those. So now I have all my lighting fixtures placed. Now I'm gonna add the switches and outlets. And you also connect the recessed lights. When I'm gonna add the switches, I'm gonna connect all of those, and you will see how I'm connecting it with a dotted line. So I have 2 floor lamps here, and I need the outlet here, 1 outlet here, 1 outlet here. I have a furniture integrated lighting here, so I'm adding outlet here and 1 outlet here. And on the other side, I'm also adding 2 outlets here. So all my outlets are ready, and now I'm going to add the switches. So I'm having 1 switch for all of those lights. So I'm adding 1 switch here, and I need 1 switch for my recessed lights and the ceiling fan. So I'm going to have 2 switches. And this one, you can use the circle template to draw an arc. And just make it dotted. And then from here, and this goes from here to here. And from this recessed light, it goes to the wall sconce. So also dotted. And then you need to write the letter R, that means recessed, R, R, and those are also recessed. And if those are all the same, then you can keep the same R letter. And if those are different, like these are the same and then this one is different, then you have to change the letter or add like R1 so you can differentiate. And then I'm gonna add, oh, and also for the ceiling fan, I just sketched it like right here, and I'm gonna show you how to use the template because I have the house plan template, and I have all the electric symbols here for the outlets and switches, and then the ceiling fans. You can just put this over here and draw a ceiling fan here. Just like that. And it takes some practice to draw those. And then you can continue with the dotted line to connect all of those lights. I'm just gonna sketch it by hand now, and on the original floor plan, I'm gonna show how to do it with the template. So just go from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, and then from this recessed light, it's gonna go to the furniture integrated light. And I'm gonna add the 3rd switch for my ceiling fan. And I'm just gonna go like this. All right, so now I'm ready with my tracing paper. I can go to my original electrical plan, and I'm just gonna keep this here. And I'm gonna use a template for the ceiling fan. I'm gonna erase this, because I already know where I'm putting everything. So this is the ceiling fan that goes here at the center of the room. And then you can connect this. And you also can use the circles for your recess lights. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I put the letter R, 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 which means recessed. All right, and then I have furniture integrating lighting here. So I'm gonna just put lighting here. And then I'm gonna have wall sconce over the artwork, over the table. I'm just gonna add it here. And then I can add the outlets, and also on the template you have the outlets. So this is the outlet, and I'm gonna use the circle for the outlet. And looking at this plan, I'm gonna add it here. And also here you have the rectangle that you can use for your outlet to draw 2 parallel lines. And I'm going to use it here also. Very tiny. Okay, I have 2 outlets here, and then I'm going to add 2 outlets here. This is very helpful and saves you a lot of time, having this and using this template. Like that, and I have 2 more switches. Try it here. One and 2. Okay, I have my outlets, and now I'm going to add the pendants here. So which circle I used for this one, I'm going to use the same for that one. I'm going to have a pendant at the entrance. And then I'm going to have 2 recessed lights that align with this pendant. So this is also going to be recessed. I'm going to use the same one, and this is going to be a pendant. And now I need to add the switches. I need 3 switches, so 1, 2, and 3. And also, if you're going to put your recessed lights on a dim, you can add D here, so it's dimmable. And now I'm going to use a circle template to draw my arcs from one light to another. So right here. And try to use the template if you can, because with the template it's always continuous and it looks nice, those arcs. And now I'm going from here to here. All right, and from the second switch we're going to our recessed lights. So the recessed is going from here to the sliding dotted line, and then I'm going to use a smaller circle because the distance is smaller. Okay, now we need to connect those 2 lights with a dotted line. And we have one more. I'm going to use this circle template. And from here, we're going to go to our furniture integrated lighting now. And we have one more switch to draw one more dotted line. So it's going from this switch to the fan, ceiling fan. And I'm going to use, let's see, I need a bigger one. Maybe on this one, so it's not so circular. I'm going to use this one. So it goes from here to here. And talking about the 3 layers of light, 3 types of light. So the general is going to be our recessed lighting. And then we have task lighting. Those are going to be our floor lamps that are going to help a person to read better, to see better. And then the accent lighting, we have a furniture integrated lighting here in the bookcase. So it's going to highlight the books that they have in it. And then we are having a wall sconce here over the table that is highlighting our artwork that they have over the table. And also one last thing that I wanted to show you guys is the schedule lighting legend. So you would have to create a lighting legend where you would have to draw the symbol of your lighting fixture. So if it is recessed, you're gonna draw a circle just as you have it here, exact same. So you're gonna draw a circle here and put the letter R in here. So this is the symbol for your lighting fixture. And then you're gonna go to manufacturer. So let me show you the example. Over here I have WAC lighting, I have a Sonneman catalog, and also I have Kichler. So we're just gonna look at the WAC lighting. Let's just pick the random lighting. Okay, now we have here LED 90 edge lit button light. And the manufacturer is going to be obviously WAC lighting, so you're gonna put it here under the manufacturer, and then the product number is going to be here where you see the model. That's gonna be the number HR LED 90-27. That's gonna be your product number. And then the description, what is it, surface mounted lighting or recessed. And then you have the lamp, that means how many watts it is. And you'll have to find it here, the wattage, here's the model, and then 60 watts. And then how many of those you need. Let's see how many we need here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I put 6 here. And then the notes, you're just putting like in which room are you putting, where are you placing this lighting fixture. And this is it.